Hey everyone! So, two things I just want to say quickly before I get on to today's topic. Firstly, thank you so much for the response and support you guys gave me in regards to my previous video. I was not expecting it at all. I literally woke up on Saturday morning and I had all these notifications on my phone. Like, my phone just went crazy. So, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. Secondly, just a bit of quick background info about me. I am half American, half Australian. My mum's side of the family is from Texas, before going back to a few other American states and then back to Scotland. Whereas my dad's side of the family, it's all from New South Wales, before going back to Scotland and England. So, on my Australian side, all of my Australian-born ancestors were all born in New South Wales. I don't have any Australian ancestors born in any other state in Australia. So, yes. Anyway, on to today's topic. So, I have these great-grandparents of mine, David Gill and Alice Wright. David Gill was first-generation Australian-born from his side. His parents were Silas Gill and Mercy Catt. Interesting name. Silas and Mercy came to New South Wales from England in about 1833, I think, off the top of my head. So David was born in 1842 in Caitie in New South Wales. And Alice Wright, her parents, she's also first generation Australian born. Her parents were actually convicts, and so they were both sent out to Port Macquarie. And Alice was born in 1845 in Port Macquarie. And Alice's parents, just so you know, were William Wright and Elizabeth Graham. And all I know is that Elizabeth was sent to Port Macquarie when she was 18 for stealing spoons. Yeah, haven't quite figured out what Alice's father did, so still onto that. But when I know, I will let you know too. Anyway, so David and Alice married in 1864 in Macleay in New South Wales. So yeah, can't talk again. Okay, I have my notes here just so I don't forget everything. Okay. So, when I started researching my family history, I found that David died in Wondai in Queensland in 1922, but Alice died in Melbourne in 1926. What happened there? So, did they separate? Did they get divorced? Were they just sick of each other? Did they go visit other family? I mean, who knows? So, towards the end of last semester, I started to actually look into it a bit more. Now, David is the only direct ancestor of mine who died in Queensland. And I'd never thought about getting David's death certificate. For some reason, I hadn't thought about it, hadn't had time, I don't know. But recently, the Queensland BDM registry, they recently lowered their prices, so I was like, right, I'm going to do it. So I went and got David's death certificate. Yay, there it is. And it doesn't really provide me with any clues about whether he and Alice got separated or divorced or whatever. But it does tell me that it tells me that the informant of David's death was his son-in-law, Donald Mackay. Donald Mackay married David and Alice's eldest daughter, Louisa. So then I went back and I looked at Donald and Louisa and realized that they moved to Brisbane from Macleay, from the Maxwell area. So I was like, okay, that's a start. So at least when David went to Queensland, he had family there. But still, why did Alice go to Victoria and not with him to Queensland? So I found David in the 1919 electoral roll, living in Wandai. So I know that from at least 1919 he was in Wandai, and he died in 1922. Okay, moving on to Alice. Now, the Victoria birth, death, marriage registry has always been a bit weird because you have to pay to at least look at a page of records, and I just wasn't interested in doing that. But I decided, you know what, I'll do it. I want to know, does it provide me with any clues? Because David's death certificate didn't really. So I found Alice's death certificate. It's actually, and I got the image from it because Victoria have images, thankfully, whereas Queensland doesn't have online images. So, well, they do, but David's was after the cutoff. So, yeah. So that's her death certificate there. And the informant was no one of any relation, no one from her family. But yeah, again, nothing about a divorce or separation, except on her death certificate, it tells me that when she died in 1926, she'd been living in Victoria for 9 years. So that takes it to about 1917. And then I was able to find her in Victoria, in Melbourne, in the 1919 electoral roll as well, living with her daughter Edith Amy Gill. And so looked at David and Alice's children, and I realized that 3 of their daughters had moved to Melbourne. So that gave Alice some reason to go to Melbourne as well. So David's gone to be with his daughter and son-in-law in Brisbane, in Queensland, in Wandai, and Alice has gone to Melbourne because 3 of their other daughters have moved there. Okay, but I still does not really provide me with, you know, any clues on why they just decided to go in separate directions. So David is buried in Wandai Cemetery, and Alice is buried in Box Hill Cemetery in Melbourne. So I will get to those cemeteries one day. I'm really keen to go and just, yeah. So don't know if I will ever know the answer to why they just went in complete opposite directions. I mean, that doesn't seem all that common for that to happen in those days, but who knows really. Anyway, that's it for this video. I will see you next time. Bye!